Okay, so this is the first video on hand drafting. I'm going to go over some of the essential equipment that you have to use. First, you're going to need a drafting table. And it's not enough just to have a piece of plywood or something like that. The edges need to be straight and true and the surface needs to be smooth. You're not going to do any cutting on this surface. Any texture to the surface, or if it's a dirty surface, if it has like a tape or anything on it that might underlay your paper, that's going to ruin your drawing as you're trying to draw straight lines. So it's really use a fresh piece to sand back and forth, and you're going to do it at a slight angle like that to establish your chiseled edge. Now, when you are sanding these, you don't want to hold it over the board because you're basically creating graphite powder that then can fall onto your board, and it's going to be problematic. Because it's going to smudge, it's going to smear, it'll be a mess. So you need these, but you're going to do it elsewhere and then bring it over. If you're going to get a fine point on a lead holder, you're going to need a special pencil sharpener. So you would use this to generate a fine point. So I'd leave a little bit more lead out, put it down and through here, and then just turn it to establish that. Of course I broke that off, perfect. And then you've got a little piece of pad here that helps get the excess graphite off so that you can not take that then out over your board and get the graphite all over everything. Okay, so that's a lead holder. These are pencils. You also have mechanical pencils. Okay, so mechanical pencils, they're cool looking. I think they're fine for a lot of drafting. I don't think they get very large of a point, so if you want a very large or wide line, you're going to need to use something else. They come in different weights in terms of millimeters, that's the width, and it'll say it right on here. This is a 0.5 and this one is a 0.7. And they also come in different hardnesses, just like the pencils do. So to get all of the correct hardness as well as the width of the pencil, you're going to end up buying a lot of these, and they're not cheap. So it isn't necessarily the cheapest way to go. You can get by getting a small sample of them. So for instance, this is a 0.9 millimeter lead, so it uses something slightly larger than these two pencils, and this is a 0.5 B. This one also is a B, so I can get a B in both the 0.9 and the 0.5. I might also want an HB, something a little harder and something a little softer, so that I can get a variety of different line weights. These aren't very good for lettering because they just don't have the width to give you any kind of a chiseled edge. So I do not recommend these for lettering. Your lettering is going to look a little thin. Okay. You are also going to need, you don't have to buy all of these. I highly recommend the lead holder, and you might be able to get away with some pencils and then the sharpeners for those. You're going to also need triangles, at least a 45 and 60-30. So this is a 60-30. You have 90 degrees here, 60 and 30. 90, 45, 45. And you'll use these in a variety of different ways for drawing. Most of the drawing that you're going to be doing is going to be horizontal. Orthogonal, basically. So you're going to be doing horizontal and vertical lines most of the time. But once in a while you will need 30 degree for doing isometrics. You might end up wanting a 45 for cutting a 45-degree angle. So those are the ones that are recommended there. For erasing, you can use a gum eraser, or even one of the little gray gum erasers if you want to. But this is what I use most of the time when I'm drafting, is just a plain white plastic Mars Statler eraser. They work very well. You'll also want an eraser shield. Let's see if I can find the eraser shield. and of course I don't see it. But an eraser shield is a small rectangle of stainless steel metal with some slots and holes in it. And you'll use the shield to lay over a portion of the page, and it reduces the area that the eraser is going to hit, so that you can take off one little tiny piece if you want to using the eraser shield. So you're going to need that. And you'll also need to have a brush for brushing away the eraser material off of your board. Having said that, you don't want to use your hands, because your hands have oil on them, and the oil will transfer onto the paper, and then anything that has oil on it is going to cause the graphite to stick to it a slight bit over time. And so as you're working on it, a big thumbprint that you made over here way at the beginning, your board looks clean through 90% of what you're drawing, and then you get to the end and there's a big thumbprint there. And then you're going to have to try to erase it, and because it has oil from your hand on the page, it's not going to erase really well. So you really do have to keep your hands clean, wash before you start, and wash about every half hour. Another thing you can do is you can use an eraser pad like this, and what it does is it has fine little bits of eraser material in it that will, you can't really see this because it's white on white, but it's basically taking that little dust of eraser material and placing it on your board, and that will help to collect any of the free graphite that's on the page, so that as you're sweeping the stuff off, it doesn't smear. Instead it gets collected in that, and then you can get rid of it. It does make a little bit of a mess, but okay. Not necessary, but it's nice to have. You have to have a scale, and this is an architectural scale. So in addition to showing inches, it also has these numbers at the edge that are representing a foot. So in this case here, this is 1/2. So 1/2 of an inch equals 1 foot. So when you're trying to draw something at a scale of 1/2 inch equals a foot, you would use this scale to figure that out. We're either going to be using 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch for our drawings. So 1/8 of an inch equals a foot, or 1/4 of an inch equals a foot. And to do that, you will need a scale. If you're using the lead holder, they sell the leads in large packs like this. So it also can be a little bit expensive. But the nice thing is that the lead holders are all the same diameter. So one lead holder, you could swap out a number of different leads, and you don't have to worry about trying to remember which device got what. It's going to be fine. Oh, let's see. There's also, you can pick up, I'm not going to use it, but this is a lettering guide, and basically what it's for is for drawing, helping you to draw a series of lines across the page that are a guide for, as you're lettering, making sure that the letters stay nice and neat in even rows. But you can do that just with a T-square or a parallel rule. So that covers the bulk of the tools that you're going to be using for the hand drafting. And the next video we're going to go on to lettering.